I am Karen Miller, and I'm assisting this morning. And I am so happy to see you all here. It's a beautiful Memorial Day weekend, and we appreciate your presence. And this morning's speaker, we are pleased to have Jeremy McDonald with us. Mr. McDonald is a best-selling author, producer, healer, and speaker who has brought over 25 years in the personal development field where he has worked. And he is part of the spiritual community in that he has written a groundbreaking book called The Sovereign Mindset, Unlocking Your Divine Potential. We look forward to his message this morning, which is Awakening Our Inner Knowing, moving from intuition to aligned action. So Jeremy, would you like to lead us in prayer?
All right, everybody, just bow your heads in prayer. Father, Mother God, we thank you for this moment this morning to honor the temple within in being in connection with those who are around us and communion with you in spirit. And we ask for the blessings on everybody in this temple and sanctuary. And as we leave this sanctuary today, we take the wisdom given and the energy built here today in spirit, and we touch the world around us. And we ask for those blessings and healing here in your Son's name. Amen. Everybody just get in a comfortable place. Feet on the ground, just kind of get yourself relaxed and take a deep breath in through your nose. And let it all out. One more deep breath in. Now hold it and let it all out. One more time. Deep breath in. Hold it and let it all out. And as you continue to breathe, I want you to just allow yourself, as you take your deep breaths in, you're breathing in the Holy Spirit, the energy that's going to give you life and healing and peace. And as you exhale out, you're letting go of anything that no longer is of your highest and best good. And while you're taking those deep breaths in, I want you to just imagine your energy just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The love in your heart is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the peace in your mind and your heart is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And just pay attention to the music in your breathing. Just allow yourself to sink into your body, allowing the music to guide you down as if your body was a tranquil river. And you can feel the ripples in the river and the peace and the calmness of washing away what no longer serves you. Deep breath in and let it all out. I want you to just imagine a white light comes down from the heavens, from source, and touches the top of your head and flows down through the top of your head, through your body, washing away any pain or anxiety, tension. It's just washing it all away. And that energy and that flow of spirit from source goes all the way down, down into your feet. And you're just you're saying, I allow you to take over and take me into flow with the divine and with spirit. And you allow that energy to go all the way down into the core of the earth, getting you very grounded into the core of the earth. And you allow that energy of the Mother Earth to come up through your feet, washing away anything left, with that love of the Mother coming up through your body, and both the energy of Source and Mother Earth meeting in the heart. Deep breath in and let it all out. And while you're sitting here in your heart, I want you to say inside, not outside, inside. I want you to say peace on my mind, peace on my body, peace on my soul, peace on my mind, peace on my body, peace on my soul. But as you say these words, I want you to allow that flow of energy from the source and Mother Earth to take it throughout your entire body, bringing that peace throughout your entire body and connecting you to the higher aspects of your soul. Peace on my mind, peace on my body, peace on my soul. Deep breath in and let it all out. Now I'm just going to let you be here just for a second, experiencing this energy of the divine in your heart and allowing yourself to connect to who you already are. Allowing it to empower you, to bring that love and harmony into your body and connect it back to your soul. Allowing yourself to be the bridge between matter and spirit. I'm going to bring you back on a count of 3, but you're going to still feel this energy, and it'll go with you throughout the day. 1, 2, 3. You're wide awake. You're back, present here in this sanctuary, ready for the rest of the day. Thank you. Good morning, Unity of Palm Harbor. How's everybody doing? Ooh, are you guys awake? Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you having me here in your temple. Just give me a second to get the, I call them my old man glasses on. They didn't tell you when you got over 50 you'd have to wear glasses, so. I have friends that say it'll get worse. They're not friends? So thanks for having me. My talk today, I'm going to be kind of going back and forth. I just got a few notes, but one of the things I want to talk about and start off with is the emerald tablets. We've all heard of the emerald tablets, am I correct? So the emerald tablets in the study of Hermetics, Hermes Trismegistus, say that 3 times really fast. He's a philosopher a long, long time ago. And but he said a phrase that we all know, and we're all very familiar with. As above, so below. That's where that started. Now, why that's super interesting when we're talking about awakening into your inner knowing is because one of the things that they thought and the ancients talked about is that our physical body, our human body, is the bridge between matter and spirit. And why that's super interesting is that one of the things that Charles Fillmore talks about in the 12 Mayan Powers of Man, what I thought was super fascinating, is he said that when Jesus was crucified, and when crucifixion means you amplify yourself 1,000-fold. Why? Because he let go of what? The flesh, in a sense, he let go of everything in that moment, and he lived in the now moment because he knew where he was going. And so where that's kind of interesting is this. I find it very interesting that also they talk about the Rainbow Bridge. Everybody's heard this one before, right? The Rainbow Bridge. What do we usually think of it in context with? Oh, they've passed over to the Rainbow Bridge. Yeah. There's a lot more to that than what we usually talk about. So it's interesting because the Rainbow Bridge and the Nordic by the way, I've been studying myths and philosophy since I was 15 years old. My mother was a nurse and went on to be a shaman. And she, when I was 15 and she went to her last stage of nursing school, I decided that it would be cool to read her psychology book because I was super fascinated with human potential. And so that took me on, now I'm 52, that took me on, from 15 to 52. I'm not mathing it right now, but it's been a while. And so the myths were fascinating to me because here in Nordic principles, it talks about the Rainbow Bridge as being a bridge from earthly realms to Asgard. What's Asgard in their realm? Heaven. That's where the gods live. Okay, so it's interesting even more. It talks about in the Bible, I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. And that is in Genesis chapter 9, verse 13. So Charles Fillmore says of Genesis 9:13, he says, he talks about the bow, the rainbow, as a divine order. And the rainbow or the bow does not simply symbolize a historical promise to stop a physical rainstorm, but rather the harmonization of the spiritual thoughts when applied to your life. It represents the balance and alignment of spiritual faculties. So it's interesting, too, because when you think about the flood, a lot of people think it's God's promise to not flood the earth again, right? But when you think about a flood or water, what does water mean? It means washing away the old to bring in the what? The new. So when that happens, you become a newborn energy. You become what some people would say, born again. And so what that means is you're transitioning from this state of being to this state of being. That's what the butterfly does, right? Okay, so what it's telling us in all these different legends and myths, because it's saying that we're looking at awakening who we really are inside and who we always have been. It was always there. You're already abundant, you're already healthy, you're already wealthy, you're already wise. We came down here to experience life. We're spiritual beings having a what experience? Human experience. Why? Because we alchemize and we grow abundantly through what? Experience. Because diamonds and pearls are formed through what? Friction and pressure. The other interesting thing about the rainbow is in Hindu beliefs, the rainbow in their beliefs is the chakras. And when rainbows and they come to a higher frequency, they all start to come together, guess what they form? White light. It becomes what? Just pure light. So what that's saying to me is that as we grow, we're all here trying to be perfect and not do bad things and all this other kind of stuff. And I think when we're missing the mark is when we don't allow ourselves to grow and experience life. That means you're going to make mistakes. It means you're going to fall into fear sometimes. It means you're going to have things that hurt. It means you're going to have things that, hey, they suck. And then it's just going to happen. However, what you do is you use those experiences. Fear is not your enemy. It is a gateway, and you are the one that has the key to unlock it. So as you walk through fear, as the shamans would say, you walk through your shadow. Then as you go through those different stages of that energy, you awaken to who you are. And so what ends up happening as you start going through the different lessons in life, the energy system starts to open up. This is proven by science. Your body has an electromagnetic field that actually grows, and it actually gets bigger as what? This is the Heart Map Institute. Anybody know about this? Or Noetic Sciences? So what that's saying is that as you have more experiences in life and you let go of heavier thoughts, I'm not going to say positive or negative because that bridges sometimes an idea of toxic positivity. And what I mean by that is when we're just constantly thinking positive but we're not facing what's going on inside, then that becomes a Band-Aid over the real issue, right? And that's what I call spiritual bypassing. It means when you walk right around and say, I'm not going to pay attention to that wound over there, maybe it'll just go away. Well, we know how that happens. When we're little kids, what does our mom and dad do when we get an owie? They clean it, right? They do things to help us make it better. And then they what? They cover it so it doesn't get what? An infection. Because an infection does what? It festers and it gets worse. But if we face what's going on inside of ourselves, then we allow ourselves to continue to grow. And the more and more we grow, the stronger our inner knowing gets, because through experience, we start to look at things. And who's ever walked into a room and you start to feel something like, oh, this is going to be an interesting experience? Who's ever had that one? Not that it's going to be good or bad. You just know it may not be jiving with you or something, and you experience it and you grow from it. And a lot of times you'll be like, oh, well, that's exactly what I felt it was going to be, and you grew from it, right? And one time, some of the things, because you had to go through all of that before, and now you're going through it again because you're like, I recognize this. Who's ever gone through experiences, you're like, why am I going through this again? Because it's called what goes around comes around. And the reason why is each time you go through it, you get better at it. Each time you go through it, you get better at it. Each time you go through it, you get better at it. You get the same relationships, the same jobs, the same type of people in your life. And guess what? Each time you go, been here before. And you're getting better at it. And this is when you start establishing what? Some boundaries for yourself. Does everybody know the boundaries are not for other people? They're for you. Who's ever walked across that boundary? You keep on doing it. You're like, this is the line right here. And I'm like, but maybe today I'll just do this. And you're like, I knew I should have listened to that. But the thing is each time you do that, then you finally say, no, can't do it anymore. Because then you get sick and tired of being what? Sick and tired. And so this is what this is talking about with the rainbow bridge. So the interesting thing in the Hindu beliefs is that when you think about the chakras, those are just lessons. They're just lessons about life. And when the heart is when you continue to put yourself in situations that break your heart over and over and over and over again. Now, let's get out the I shouldn't have done that part. Don't should on your life. Grow from it. Everybody with me on that one? Because what ends up happening is then we start shaming ourselves instead of growing with it. When you're shaming yourself, what are you doing? You're continuing to break your heart again, but you're the one doing it now. Wow, why do I keep on doing this over and over and over again? Well, the question you want to ask yourself is, how do I grow from this situation? How do I become a stronger person? How do I alchemize myself into that diamond or that pearl? How do I continue to understand it so that I get this awakened knowing of who I am? In other words, some of us are, now I'm in my 50s, I got this new sense of confidence in my life. Can anybody relate to me on that? And so when you make mistakes, do you sit there and go, oh, I just stuttered when I was speaking on stage. Does anybody do that? You just, oh man, what are they going to think? Or do you say, listen, this just happened. Everybody with me on this one? Yes. Embrace your mistakes. Embrace your things that happen. Be real. Be vulnerable. You're going to have, and this is what ends up happening. Each time you do that, your inner knowing gets stronger because then you start saying, been here before. Who's ever ran across the person that says, I'm an empath and I can't be in certain situations? Who ever ran across that person? An empath is somebody that's had trauma in their life. And it's because they've experienced it, and I get it. I don't want to put myself into certain situations. There's a point where I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. However, there are certain times I can't avoid certain situations. It's just a part of life. So what am I going to do? So I walk into a room, and I don't like that person. That energy just doesn't work for me, and I'm going to run out of the room? There's like 50 other people I could meet. Everybody with me on that one? And I'm missing the opportunity to grow and understand something. I may be polite to that person. Who's ever ran across somebody that was in your life previously and they hurt you, and you're like, oh, I really want to give them a piece of my mind. Who's ever had that happen? Peace of your mind does not replace truth. Peace of your mind comes with energy of anger and hurt. And you have to look at the anger and hurt and then speak the truth in a way that you understand and they understand so that you can grow from it. So aligned action is where you're aligned with your soul. And that's the interesting part about this, is that awakening to your inner knowing is when you finally start to look at your lessons and grow from them, and then energetically or spiritually, whatever you want to refer to it as, you start to go, okay, I've been through all these experiences, and I'm excited. Who's ever looked back at your life and looked at all the good and bad, and you're just like, wow, I did it. I've gotten this far. Man, when I look back and think about my 20s, and I'm like, how did I make it through that? And then my 30s, when I thought I knew everything. And then when I'm in my 40s, I thought I was getting a little wise. And in my 50s, I was like, I'm okay with it to not know everything. I don't know what my 60s are going to be like, but I'm looking forward to it. So everybody with me on this one? And it's okay. That's one of the coolest things. So aligned action is when you're in alignment with your soul. So your soul tells you this: I want you to go down this road, and you start to walk down it, and you realize there's a couple bumps in it. You're like, why would you want me to go down this way? It's all supposed to be smooth sailing. And then your soul and God says, okay, but if you don't go through those bumps, you're not going to reach your full potential. And I'm like, okay. Everybody with me on this one? So, interesting enough, in 2000, I became a corporate trainer in 1997. So, and then in 2005, I decided I was going to be a motivational speaker. And man, I listen to some of those conversations I had back in 2005, and you grow. Can anybody relate to this on you as they grow as a person? But if I hadn't have gone through all the challenges and all the heartbreaks and all the stuff I've gone through, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing today. And here's the thing. Let me ask you a question. Who's ever had a surgery here in the room? Who's ever had somebody? Let me ask you a question. If somebody would have walked up to you the day before your surgery and said, by the way, I'm going to be doing your surgery tomorrow. And you're like, oh, nice to meet you, doctor. Well, I'm not a doctor yet. I need to go to college. What are you going to say? No. Well, I would hope you would say no. So when I'm talking about hermetics, there's a natural law. And a natural law, it's called the law of gestation. And gestation, what that means is that it's preparing you for who you're intending to be. So if you set out an intention, like I did 20 some odd years ago, to do something, or the person sets out to become a doctor, they have to go through the education and the understanding to become who they are. So this is why when we start, who's ever had that moment where you're like, man, I've been praying for this, and it's not coming, and these things are not happening. Why is it taking so long? Anybody ever relate to this? It's because you're energetically not there yet. And that's not a put down. It's actually a compliment. It's saying, I want you to be at your full potential. At your full potential, when you get to that realm of what you're intending, and I'm going to give you that or better. So what you're wishing for and you're looking for, because what ends up happening is we're so far in the future. So aligned action is aligned with your soul in the now of the moment. And when you're not in the now of the moment, if you're too far in the future or you're too far in the past, you can't experience what's happening right now. You can't grow from it, you can't understand from it, because you're still wishing as opposed to being aligned with your soul. So your prayers and your dreams, there is nothing wrong with them, just don't live in the future. That's called longing. That's called lusting for. That's called, you're literally, it says, thou shalt not lust after the neighbor's wife. Everybody remember that commandment? What that's saying is don't be wishing upon things that are not yours. Catherine Ponder teaches us that you cannot spiritually lose what is divinely yours. So if it's divinely yours, you can't lose it. So if it walks out of your life, if it's meant to be in your life, it will come back. Who's ever had somebody walk out of their life and come back later on, and you were better people? Well, okay, sometimes it wasn't. I understand. I've had a few of those myself. But I do have a story of a couple that I love very dearly. And a friend of mine, her parents divorced. And then 20 years later, got back together because they were at their kid's wedding, fell in love again, and got married and they were together until the day they were no longer here. What does that tell me? They had to go and what? Grow and come back around. So when we're talking about awakening to your inner knowing, as you start to be in alignment with your soul, there's a part of you that was going to tell you, I know where I need to be and where I need to be, or you'll know where you need to be, what you need to say, and what you need to do, and when you need to do it. Because that's the inner knowing. And a lot of people think it's about understanding, I want to know the future, or I want to know all this kind of stuff. It doesn't matter what the future says, because you need to know what you're at right now. And if you're so busy with what's going to be in the future, you're not going to experience what it takes to what? Alchemize yourself and gestate yourself into who you're to become. You're missing all the stuff and the good stuff right here and right now. And that's the wisdom, because it's okay to not know everything. And so I was talking to you earlier, and I started off as a spiritualist almost 30 years ago, and became more New Thought. And the reason why is this, because I realized that there's no reason why I need to know the future. Everybody with me on that one? And the people that were coming to me wanted to know the future. I'm like, why do you want to know that? They'd be like, well, I'm paying you to tell me the future. I'm like, I know, but if you do that, then you're missing everything right now. But I want to know if this is going to work out. Who cares? Because if it doesn't work out, guess what? What's in your divine plan is what will work out. So I'm going to leave you with this. One of the things that I will share with you, and I do every single morning so I can be in that inner knowing, is everybody remember Christmas morning when they were a kid? Okay. I remember this one specific Christmas, and it was the last Christmas I celebrated from the age of 7 to the age of 14 because my mother and I went into a church that didn't celebrate Christmas. But this one is so powerful. So everybody wants to manifest and create and all that other kind of stuff, and this is what I do. I live in the now of the moment every morning when I wake up. And I imagine that morning, we lived in one of those single-wide trailers in West Fargo, North Dakota, in the middle of the winter. Ugh. And so, in my bedroom was the first one in that long hallway from the 70s trailers. Everybody with me on this one? And so I walked around, and I remember all the joy I had because my mother was still sleeping, and all the joy I had when I saw the cookies that were ate that I left out the night before. Remember Santa Claus, you left out cookies. And I walked around, and there was the Millennium Falcon, and there was Tonka toys, and there was all these things. Remember that joy and that energy you had that you had when you were a kid? Well, what I want you to do is I want you to feel that energy of when you were a kid, and I want you to say to the universe, to God, I want you to say, surprise me. Why? Why do you want them to surprise you? Why do you want God to surprise you? Because you want to go throughout the day seeing all your blessings. You want to feel all that time and that love and care that it took from my mother to create that moment when I walked around that corner and saw all those toys. The toys are the symbolism of blessings. So that means you might somebody would say, you know what? I love you. That's a blessing. Your boss might walk up to you and say, you're doing a great job today. You can leave at 3 o'clock today. That's a blessing. Anything. It could be, who's ever gone through Starbucks or a restaurant and somebody pays for your coffee, pay it forward. It could be whatever. It doesn't matter. There's so many, just being alive is a blessing. So do that every morning. And the reason why is because what you're saying to your soul is, I'm ready to be in alignment with you. Surprise me. And I'm looking forward today. I'll leave you with that. Thank you so much.